What is going on, everybody on YouTube? Here we got an early afternoon green room show. We got the Bonafide Hustler on next to me, and today we're going to be talking about goals, and we're going to be sharing some of our goals. We're going to be discussing why you should have goals, why a lot of people fail when it comes to their goals, especially at the beginning of the year. And we're going to just help you guys out and add as much value as possible to get you guys ready and prepared for the new year. Because before you know it, this holiday season is going to be over and it's going to be the new year. So, Bonafide, what's going on, my man? How are you doing over there in sunny Austin, Texas?
Doing well, 67-degree day today. Banged out an amazing workout this morning. Spent 4 hours this morning studying in a coffee shop. Had some grilled chicken earlier and some scrambled eggs. So I'm doing well, man. Diet in check.
That is what I like to hear. So we've got a bunch of people already flowing on into this room right now, and I think people are excited. It's been a great year. Looking back for me personally, it's been probably one of my best years. And for me, best years, a lot of people look at their year and they say, how much money did I make? Or, everybody has like kind of a different way to measure what's a great year. I feel like a lot of people, it has to do with their job or money. But for me, it was the best year because of my health, and I really transformed my health and got in shape and hired a personal trainer. So I'm really proud about that. What about you, Chris? How was your 2017?
It was a good year. I enjoyed it a lot. I found out a lot about myself. I think we live in an amazing world where we can create anything that we want. We can change anything that we want. And I think in 2018 or 2017, it was just one of those interesting years where I think we did well with the green room. We've done, we had another amazing green room meetup. We, banged out a bunch of YouTube videos, had amazing garage sale times with my brother and a bunch of people in the car. My fitness was unbelievable this year. And I went on what seems to be anywhere between 5 and 7 vacations. So I think it was a pretty good year, honestly.
Yeah, cool, man. Awesome. So let's ask the people who are watching right now before we get into the show, how was your 2017? What's one thing that you're really, really proud of in your life in terms of achievements in 2017? So while everybody's throwing in the comments and whatnot, Chris, why don't we jump into the first topic and start to talk a little bit about goals?
That's right. And the most important thing to understand is that, the reason why we're making this show is because this seems to be one of the ways that people really go wrong. And New Year's resolutions are one of those things that falls apart rather quickly in most people's cases. And I think it's because they don't take the time, at least in some part of December, to plan out what your next year might look like. And by plan, I do mean by SMART goals, which is actually a corporate term. Every letter of the word SMART stands for something, and we'll be talking about that on the show. But essentially, you're going to be looking for a goal that's very specific, a goal that's measurable, a goal that's attainable, a goal that's results oriented, and then a goal that can be measured in a nice, timely fashion, right? So if you can take that one thing from corporate America, you can put it to your personal life, and you can start building goals, whether it be for love or happiness or fitness or finance, investing, anything that you want. It's important to have something to chase after while you're going throughout the next year, because the worst thing that can happen, and I think a lot of people might fall in this trap, is to get at the end of the year, right, Steve, and look back and go, whoa, I didn't change that much, right?
Mm. Yeah,
So
no,
anyway,
it's
yeah.
it's true. And to kind of touch on that a little bit, I feel like a lot of people, they don't change because, things are moving so quick. We're getting hit left and right with all these different things in our life, from health to business to investing to relationships. And, if you don't have goals and you're not looking at them all the time, it's really easy to kind of lose track of it, right? Have you ever gotten to the end of the year, Chris, and you're like, I don't know. I revisit my previous year's goals at the end of every year. And sometimes I'm like, wow, like, what happened? I completely forgot about it. It's because, at times maybe I'm not paying attention to it or reading those goals. So it's really important, man. What do you think are some of the other benefits to having goals?
Well, I think it's fun, right? I mean, that's what a lot of people think. They look at these New Year's resolutions and they go, "Oh man, like I have to do all this stuff." But if you break it down into very micro type segments that are easily achievable, it becomes kind of fun. It becomes kind of like, let me read,
Like a
two new
game.
books a week. Yeah, or two new books a month. Like, let me see if I can get that done, right? But you start with one, right? Maybe you start with half a book a month. But once you get one down, you ever got to the end of a book and you're like, you always get that feeling, Raiken, you finish a book and you're like, I finished another one, right? know
I
what I'm
know it
talking
feels
about?
good. Yeah,
It
it
does. It
does.
feels
It
good
feels
because you
accomplishment.
you you went through the whole thing, and you learned some things, and maybe you took notes, maybe you didn't. But either way, you broke it down into easy to do segments, right? Most people, and I think that's one of those things that we can tie back to just simple goal setting. It's not meant to be overwhelming. And when you want to plan for your 2018, you got to break it down to very, very simple things that matter the most to you, because the goals that we're going to be talking about today are goals that matter a lot to us. But you have to figure out what makes you tick, what you want to change, and then break it down into very small segments. So hopefully you'll get some information by watching us, go back and forth with our goals, and you'll start to realize like, oh, that's how they're getting their stuff done. So anyways, we got a lot of people in the feed, Raiken.
Man, there are a ton of people in the feed. We got Jeremiah in there saying yap, yap, yap about 12 times. So he is pumped up. He is ready. He's a yes man today. We got Vicky Olson in the house. Thrilla Gorilla Picker. We got In the Sun by the Beach. Red Rocket saying the path to change isn't always straightforward. Big love to everyone here for not giving up. That is a great, great statement right there. We got Joanna C. We got Zach. We got a lot of people. Texas Gal Treasures is in the house. And I think there's a guy in there who sometimes works out with you. What's his name, Chris?
Yeah, he's in here. Actually, he's probably talking to me to
Who
us
is
from
that guy?
India. I think his name is Drew, but he's in my most current workout vlogs that are in my channel right now, on my other channel. So, anyways, yeah. If you watch the workout vlogs, you start realizing like, man, my goal this year, one of them is to transform a Indian guy Drew into a
I
pretty
love it.
ripped, lean, jacked dude. So that's one of my goals this year.
Hey, we got a super chat, $5 from Texas Gal Treasures saying, yes, got to keep learning and growing so you don't get rusty and dusty. I like that right there. Hey, thank you so much for that super chat and for supporting the channel. Definitely go check out Texas Gal Treasures. One thing I want to mention, Chris, and before anybody sits down to kind of create their goals, this is what I always do. I kind of break down the different sections of my life, right? Because at the end of the day, we could have the healthiest body, but we can lack a bunch of other things and be unhappy. We could have all the money in the world. We could be unhappy. We could have the greatest spouse or girlfriend or boyfriend, but lacking in other areas and be unhappy. So you want to try to kind of move forward in all these different areas. So Chris, let's kind of go back and forth and name off some of these different areas that people might want to start kind of creating goals underneath. And that could be one goal, right? Like for example, health. It might be to just lose 30 pounds. What's another area of life that you kind of think about when you start breaking down your goals, Chris?
A lot of people are just going to look at it and really simply and go, it's probably health, wealth, love, and happiness, and then faith at the very end, right? Those are really the five key ones out there. Health being what Steve was talking about, wealth being, how do you feel about with your current financial situation? Love being, obviously, have you found love? Are you loving properly? And then happiness is like, even amongst all that, are you happy, right? Are you happy inside every day? Are you pretty well, put in your mind and everything like that? And then faith, of course, for those that are spiritually inclined, faith is a pretty big one as well. So those are some of the ones right there. But we also have other ones like investing, right, Raiken?
Yeah,
Investing.
I like to break it down a little more because wealth is so broad. Even health could be broad in a sense because health could be, fitness and diet, and there could be all these different things. Like for example, I'll just kind of give you a couple examples of my health goals. I'm not going to go too deep into them, but I have one that has to do with weight loss and building muscle. I have one that has to do with going on a green juice fast. I have another one that has to do with seeing my personal trainer a certain amount of times a week. And then my final one is going into a fitness competition like Tough Mudder or something to kind of push me outside. So I don't like to have, for me personally, and this is, everyone's different, but like wealth or health, like I almost like to try to break it down a little bit more to kind of get specific.
Well, specific is the most important part of the SMART goal in the first place, right? That's the very first S of SMART is specific. So, in regards to health, let's talk about. You have a specific goal, and you have a couple specific goals within health, correct, Raiken?
Sure. Yep.
So let's take the SMART analogy or a SMART acronym, and you can look at this and follow along in Google because it'll be a bunch of, just put it, what is SMART, what is a SMART goal, and take a look at how we're going to kind of break down or Raiken's very first one, which is health. So you have a specific goal, you have a couple
Yep.
specific goals in there. One was the Tough Mudder, the other one was see your personal trainer X amount of times a week, right?
Yep.
Something like
Yep.
that. And
Yeah.
then what was the other one?
I have one. I'll just read exactly how I write it, and then you can put it to the test to see if it, because it might not be 100% on that SMART kind of, guideline. But let's just see. This is how I wrote it. By December 31st, 2018 or sooner, I have easily gone on a 10-day green juice fast to detoxify and clean my body, and I feel absolutely amazing.
Okay, so you got Juice Fast, you have a personal trainer one, and then you have the Fitness Tough Mudder. As those are three pretty big ones in health, right?
Right,
For
right.
you. Cool. So let's talk about measurable, right? So you have one that says by the end of 2018. I urge you to probably get a little bit more measurable with that. Like the Juice Fast, maybe by the second quarter of the year or by the first quarter or whenever this juice. Are you going to do a juice kind of like excursion thing like you did that one time where it was
No,
like
it's
a
not going to be. It's not going to be like a trip. But I kind of kept it open ended because I don't know. One thing about being super measurable is things change so quick. I don't like to box myself into like a certain, like kind of like a certain date. So I keep it somewhat open. And that's worked for me in the past. But certain things you can't keep it open. Like for example, like I'm going to see my personal trainer at the gym. Like I'm going to see him 3 times per week. You know.
right. Oh, I hear what you're saying. So, like, if I was to echo in on the health part, like in my health, like one of the things that I want to do is be at 8 or 9% body fat by the peak of summer, which here in Austin, Texas, is probably June or July. So that's going to take a lot of dieting down. But in order for me to do that, I need to be able to bulk until a certain period, which will probably be for the next 2 to 4 weeks. Like that's how measurable I'm getting. So for the next 2 to 4 weeks, I'm eating everything in sight, getting as heavy as I can, and then I'm going to lose weight very, 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 very slowly up until about June, where I'll maintain at 8 or 9% body fat. And if that does well, I'll be kind of like this shredded machine that I want to be, right? Is it achievable? That's another part of the SMART goal that's very important
Ooh,
that you
that
have to look into. Is it even achievable? So you have to ask yourself, like, if I was to say, hey, I want to be worth $5 to $10 million by the end of next year, that's not really achievable, right?
depending on where you are. If you made
Yeah.
3 million last year, I think 5 million is definitely a great thing to shoot for. But yeah, if you made $50,000 last year and you're shooting for 10 million, right? That's why is that? Let's dig deeper into that. Why, you always hear people say, go big, go home, think big. Your mind can create anything it believes. Why are you suggesting not to go that big in your thoughts?
Because it can get very, how do I say it? It can get very, not only disorienting, but very, a goal is something that you can measure along the way. Like, right, you can take these little steps, like every 2 months you go, okay, where am I with health? Where am I with lifestyle? Where am I with education? And if you cannot put yourself on the track to get to a semi-lofty goal, like a lofty goal is something like Raiken said, if you're worth 3 million, a lofty goal or an achievable goal might be 5 million, right? But for someone that's worth 50 grand or made 50 grand a year, maybe it's important to have a little bit more of an attainable goal, like
Because they're never
75.
going to believe it when things get tough. How are you going to keep
Oh, it's
going if deep
impossible.
down inside you never? Because really, if you're making 50,000 a year and you're trying to become a millionaire, is it possible? Have people done it? Absolutely. But when life and business punches you in the face, how are you going to have your faith and motivation to keep moving forward when you have no idea? So
Yeah.
having something, I think what you're trying to say is having something a little more reasonable.
Yeah,
Um,
realistic is how in the sun by the beach in the comment feed right now is saying. And by the way, you got a super chat of $20 by Jacob Topping.
Whoa, hello. What is
It says,
going on? Hey, that's
let me
Jacob. We
read
were
it.
just talking on Facebook. Good to see you, Jacob. Thanks for that, man.
Let me read you this one. Merry Christmas, Raiken. I love the content you put out all year long. $20.
Hey man, I appreciate that, and I appreciate that little tip behind the scenes about the URL link. So thank you for that.
So we have Drew's World saying unrealistic goals. It means it's easier to quit. That's right, because the second you've come to the first measurement
Ooh,
period, you're so far off that how are you supposed to continue all those other measurement periods till the end of the year? Like, how are you supposed to find a way around it, circumvent it? It's impossible. If you're so far behind right out of the gates, it's something that you're likely never to revisit again. You're not going to achieve it either. And that's one of the things, like with weight loss too, right, Steve? Someone that might weigh 280 pounds might go like, well, I want to be 140 by the end of the year. That's above and beyond lofty. It's like borderline unhealthy, like honestly. So you have to get a certain amount per week. Like you have to start researching through Google and through Wikipedia, like what's the average amount of weight that's okay and sustainable to lose per week. And usually you'll find it's 0.08 or zero point 0.8 to 1 pound a week is
Right.
sustainable, right? But
You
there's
know,
only 52 weeks in a year, for example. So, if you don't want to rebound, you want to be 52 pounds lighter. And that's still a huge, Raiken, when you were 200 plus pounds, remember that? Remember those
yeah.
days?
Oh yeah.
I mean, what's 20 pounds off of you? Like, how did that feel already?
Oh, it felt fantastic. Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? And that's only 10% of what you were.
And
Yeah, that's 10% of your body weight.
and the thing is too, allow yourself to hit goals, right? Because once you hit a goal, you get this motivation, you get this, I don't know, this added energy to just keep moving forward. There's a guy that I follow on YouTube and I followed his blog for years. His name's Stefan Palerno's with
Project Life Mastery.
projectlifemastery.com. We've had him on the Green Room Show. He started documenting his goals. He has a monthly goals report that he shares every single month. Chris, he's been doing this for, I think, 5-6 years. And if you go back to his goals reports, again, projectlifemastery.com, he documented he was only making, I think, a couple $100s a month at the time, making money online with a couple websites. And then he built it up and was making a couple thousand. And then I think like maybe a year and a half later, he was doing like 10,000 a month. Do you know last year he did just shy of 2 million, and he's already passed, I think, $2.5 million in revenue this year in his business. And he could have came off, and said, I want to make $2 million, but he always set his goals. If you look at his goals, he would always set it just a little bit farther than he was. And that's just the compound effect. It's the slight edge. It's building momentum. Like, it's not this race, right? We all have this race, Chris, that, we got to lose 50 pounds and instantly everything's going to be perfect. But when people lose weight really fast, what happens? They don't really build the routine or the habit, and they lose it. And I think it's the same with finance and business as well, right? Because a millionaire is just a reflection of all the decisions and habits and routines he's built over the years. So it's like lottery winners, Chris. What happens when somebody wins the lottery typically 5 years later?
Yeah, when you never came from anything and you all of a sudden get supersonic speed into like being a multimillionaire, a lot of times you I see what Raiken is saying. Essentially,
Supersonic speed.
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying. Like you essentially supersonic speed reversal as well. Like once you have all the money, you blow it all this kind of stuff and beer and partying and a couple, really terrible investments, and all of a sudden you're back to square one again, and you're even unhappier than you were with the money involved. So, and that's a pretty typical scenario. So a lot of times they say, if we're talking about finances, that finances are only going to amplify who you are as a person right now. So if you haven't figured out who you are as a person, and you haven't figured out a way to better yourself in a respectful manner, respecting others, doing as much charity as possible, all that kind of stuff, giving forward as much as you can of yourself, money is only going to, accentuate the current condition that you're in. So if you're a sourpuss or you're, generally over, if you're just full, you ever met those people that are just full of, not satire, but they're always sarcastic and they're just looking at life and it totally like, you know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah.
Right. And it's like nothing serious and everything like that. So that's cool. You get a bunch of money in that person's hand. It's just the same person. Still nobody wants to hang out with that person. You just have more money. Like that's it. So you got to really focus on yourself more than anything. And the money will just amplify everything else, I think.
You want to hear something crazy? When I was 215 pounds and now I'm about 180 pounds and I put on quite a bit of muscle, the greatest moment wasn't actually like weighing and hitting 180 pounds. It was actually like kind of like just the whole entire process of actually doing what I said I was going to do and like being strong and like the person that I've become along the process. So, I mean, I feel like so many people, they set a goal and it's like the goal is the most important thing. I mean, it's fun. It's a good time. Like success to me is when somebody, like, some people think being a millionaire is successful, but I think anybody out there who's doing what they love and they're doing what they intend to do every single day, whether it's the school teacher or the firefighter or the millionaire entrepreneur, if the school teacher wants to be at school teaching and helping kids and that's what she does every single day, she's a success. If that's her goal, that's a success. So like, it doesn't matter how big or small your goals are or what it is. If you're going down the path that you want to go and you're waking up every morning and you love what you do, like that's a successful attainment of a goal, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's basically like living a life at that point. Right? Because who's one of us to tell anyone else like how to live their life? You got, like I said in the beginning of this broadcast, you have to figure out what makes you tick and then build these SMART goals from there, right? So part of our, like, don't, just because you hear our goals doesn't mean it has to be your goals, but we make the show because we want to show you how we're going to get to our goals. right?
Exactly. Yep.
So
Exactly.
let's talk about the health one real quick. I was talking about the health thing on my side. One of the things that I wanted to do that was a little bit more health related is I do want to, I don't know if this is going to happen this year, but I want to ride this one trail called Portal. It's a trail
Hmm.
called Portal. It's in Utah. And on one side of the trail, it's very narrow. It's on the side of a cliff. On one side of the cliff, on the left side, it's like what, a 20 or 100-story drop. And it's highly technical. It's an extremely technical trail. If you watch YouTube videos on Portal, Utah mountain biking, it is one of those gateway kind of trails that gateway is such a terrible word. Anytime you hear gateway, you always think of drugs and stuff.
Gateway to
But
fly off an
this is
edge.
it's a gateway kind of trail. It's a rite of passage kind of trail. If you can survive Portal, you can do a lot. So that's one of the things I kind of want to do this year. If I'm in the general vicinity of Utah, I might pop over there and try to get Portal done. But outside of that, I want to become a better wakeboarder, right? I want to get down to 8 or 9% body fat by peak of summertime, and that's where I am right now. So yeah, I think I think those are decent goals. I've made so many progress. I've made so much progress with my mountain biking in the past 15 years that I know I could probably do Portal right now. But that's just a health goal for me. Kind of like Steve wants to do a Tough Mudder race. I want to be able to take my bike and my physical conditioning to Portal and see what I can do there. So anyway.
How do you what advice would you give to somebody who maybe they're looking at their business goals, right? Their eBay goals. Maybe they've never even, I don't know, maybe somebody wants to make $10,000 a month, but they've never made their first dollar on Amazon and they want to do it through private label. Would you recommend that they have a goal that says, by December 31st or whatever date, I am now earning $10,000 a month in my private label business on Amazon? Or would you rather have a result-oriented goal that's geared more towards the process? So instead of the financial outcome, would you rather have that goal or, by June 30th, I've launched my first successful private label product? Because that's something I always kind of struggle with. Like, do I make the goal about the process? Because if you successfully go through a process, the result usually will come. You know what I mean? And sometimes I feel like I've focused on goals, but then I never really embraced taking action. Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
I think the goal can matter. Okay, so like the goal with private label, that's one of those where anybody even successful. Okay, so you take a person that's done many successful private label products, they go into another one, right? And they're going to do another line. They've done all the research, Jungle Scout, Terra Peak, all this random stuff, and then your product can hit the market. It could be the best listing. It can have the most amazing keywords. You could have given it to X amount of friends to positively review it and everything like that, but if something happens, such as Amazon Basics comes around and goes, oh, you know what, we're going to make that product too because your product's landing on page 1 and we like it, the velocity is there, so we're going to create one too. Puts you right out of the market, and that happens. So to answer your question, I think it's important to go through the process, but you have to understand with something like private label, for example, that thing might not win, right? It's just part of the nature of the whole thing. But go
So
through
do
the
you make the
process, get
goal
a
about the
course.
so do you make the goal
Yes,
about the
yes.
process or do you make it about the result?
You make the goal, first of all, about the process, and hopefully there's a course involved. All right. Someone that's done it successfully many, many times over usually has a course, and you should go through the exact thing that the course tells you to do. Just like what I'm doing right now. I'm doing a WordPress course with like plugin stuff and all this stuff. And I'm going through the course, every module, like, downloading the PDFs, looking at it side by side while the
Gets you
module is
there
going.
faster.
That's the way I'm doing it, right? Because I could go to Google and type in how to master WordPress, and I'll get so many different angles on what to do
So
first,
much
right? But
noise
if I
out
get a
there.
course that's
Yep.
highly rated by Udemy, it's probably going to be okay. So that's a tough one, but you can put it in retrospect back to your workout career, right? Was the most important thing, the supplements, right? Or was it the process of waking up, going to the gym every morning, seeing that person there, knowing you're going to get your butt kicked, but you also know what the outcome is going to feel like, which you're going to feel really good about it, right? So that's the process that got you to your goal. Like, you've done it with working out. You can apply that to anything else. It's the same exact thing. You have to go through the process. And the personal trainer in your example would be the course or the Amazon course that you're going to take. Or, Raiken doesn't know everything. I don't know everything. But if I don't know something and I want to get a jump start on something, I'll buy a course. Like, that's just the way it is.
Yeah,
Right?
you know what's crazy? Like looking back on my goals, like the different things that I've accomplished, like even health, like a lot of times there's usually like one major thing that really helped you to achieve that goal. Have you ever noticed that? It's kind of like the
Um,
80-20 rule in a sense.
Yeah, there definitely is. I mean, when it comes to losing weight and everything, like, okay, so when it comes to losing weight, for example, it's just statistically proven that weight training over cardio will win. Typically, resistance weight training over cardio will always win. Most people think I gotta go jogging marathons and all this stuff, and but what ends up happening is you don't end up burning as much fat as you intended to, right? You might actually tear down some muscle and things like that. Whereas if you do weight training with proper macronutrient, how do I say it? You know what I'm talking about, Raiken. Proper
Yeah.
macronutrient following, then you actually preserve muscle, right? You sculpt the body where you want it, and then you burn the fat off the edges of all that kind of stuff. So that's really interesting. But that just goes to show you that you have to go through the process, right? But you have to sit there and evaluate every single time, every single month, like, how am I doing, right? And the same thing with that private label thing. Like, every single month, there should be some sort of measuring period involved. Whether it be by month one, I have my selections down to 6 products that I might go forward with, right? I've done all the research and all the velocity reports and everything on 6 products. That could take a while, you know what I'm saying? It can take a while to figure out where you want to be, where you want your private label item to be, what genre do you want to play with, what niche, all that kind of stuff. So it takes a while, but the process usually, if you get it from somebody that's known and you look at the person, right?
Right.
Just
Yeah.
like if you're investing money, the person has money, they have an investing course, they could probably teach you a thing or two. If someone's jacked out of their mind and they look amazing like a Hollywood superhero, it's probably like that person knows about fitness, right? And if you buy an Amazon course on private label and the person's done successfully like 9 different lines, that's probably a really good place to start, right? Honestly.
Yeah.
Um,
When it comes to goals, getting around the right people has been the biggest game changer. And the reason I had asked you that initial question was because, for me, the one thing that really made the biggest difference with my health was my personal trainer. It really was. The biggest thing with my business was networking with people who were making a lot more money than me. And Brandon Pierce says, in my experience, being around people who are truly supporting you is an amazing catalyst. That means getting accountable and holding others for their goals. So I think that's important, man, is surrounding yourself with success. You can have all the goals and all the greatest goals, and you can have the greatest intentions. But if you're hanging out with the wrong people, negative people, I hate to say broke people, but it's just people who are complaining and negative and always saying it's not possible and being pessimist, like, you're never going to accomplish your goals.
that's true. Who
It's
made who
never going to
made that
happen.
who made that statement? I know it's not Ducker, but it's who's the one that said you're the average of your 5 friends?
Yeah, I don't know who actually
Oh, someone's gonna know it in
came
the
up
feed.
with
We
that,
know
but it's a
this.
great quote.
Yeah, you're the average of your 5 closest friends. So
Oh, I think that was
that's
Jim Rohn.
it is Jim Rohn. You're right. It's Jim Rohn, ROHN. So basically, what you need to do is, before you establish these goals and everything like that, you need to figure out, what does my friendship network look like, immediate family, like, who's going to keep me accountable for what I'm about to go under. And if these people aren't the right people, then you need to somehow outsource this kind of stuff, kind of like Raiken decided to get a personal trainer, for example, right? Because you
Right.
tried by yourself, right? You tried by yourself. I even tried helping you from miles and miles away with video chats and everything. I helped you out, but when it came down to having someone there, right? That was
Because
the that
it's
was that was the
because
thing for you.
it was more of a, I forgot who said this,
Accountability.
but people think that success and whatever, finance, business, health, is all about the tactics, the strategies. It's never about the strategies. It's always about the mindset. It's about taking action. It's about, pushing that extra 50% when you're tired, right? And that's just something that you or anybody else 1,000 miles away couldn't provide.
Yeah, that's right. So the extra energy and the extra push that Reiki needed was in the form of a personal trainer, right? But enough times with the personal trainer, you'll start to realize you become the personal trainer. You start becoming the person that's
I
training you,
haven't
right?
yet, man, but I'm hoping maybe one day I'll become I have not become the personal trainer yet. I'll be honest. I need him all the time.
Yeah, I'm different. Like my mentality is a little different, but I did learn from a lot of people back in the day, and I have my own types of metrics and own types of workouts that I build and everything like that. But I do firmly believe that a good personal trainer is not only somebody that looks over your form really well. It can be the same as a mentor, right? If you have a good life mentor, that
Mm.
person should be asking you very key questions and observing everything that you do, right? And then, most importantly, that person should reflect who you want to become, or at least a version of who you want to become. So if you have a life mentor, you have to understand that that person has a life that you want to achieve. And if you have a personal trainer, that person's body should reflect a body that you want to have, right? And if you get with an investment professional, this person better be, managing millions and billions of assets and have a
Right.
track record, right? That's kind of like what Raiken is saying. Get yourself around the person that you want to become, and eventually you start to become that slowly.
So
Um,
we've covered a lot of good stuff. We got about 10 minutes left. And I want to throw out a couple subjects that are important, Chris. Because having goals is great, but I think one thing that I really want to touch on really quickly, and King of Thrift actually mentioned it, is the importance of, having goals is great, writing it, making sure that it's specific, measurable, attainable, results oriented, time focused. That's all important. But I think one of the most critical things, and we've talked about accountability, is actually making sure that you read it on a regular basis. And I think a good strategy to do this is to either write it down in a safe place and read it every single morning or every single week. For me personally, I just have a Google Doc application. It's cloud-based, and I've got about 26 goals actually written down right now, and I've been going over them the last few weeks. But the key is to not only write your goals and think about them and adjust them for a while and like really make sure that you're excited about them, but to read them and visualize them and think about them all the time, because the reason why goals are important is because it allows your brain to focus on something, right? If you want to lose weight, but you're never thinking about it, you're not watching YouTube videos about it, you're not hanging out with people who are working out, like you're just going to forget about it and your brain's going to get sidetracked to something else. So, Chris, why don't you touch on a little bit more of the importance of actually, creating the goals, but then reading them and thinking about them on a regular basis? Because that's where most people drop the ball because it's work.
Right. So I'll give you an example of what I do, but I do have a little tiny slip of paper that's in my wallet. So basically, I got on a Word document. I typed in my 3 biggest goals that I want to get done in 2018, and I put measurable time frames, or how do I say, measurable time frames plus what I need to do on a weekly or daily basis to achieve the goal. And then I shrank the font down to like something really, really small. I printed it out on my printer. Then I took basic eBay packing tape and I laminated it myself real quick. Right? It's nice and foldable. I can put it in my wallet. I can read it 3 times a day if I want to. Now, I usually read it once a day. But the most important thing, and what Raiken is alluding to, is the fact that if you read something, the whole concept of reading a goal that's printed on paper is that you've put your energy behind it. You've taken the time out of your day to even think about what matters to you, right? Then you've written it down on a piece of paper or a computer. You shrank it down, you laminated it, you're taking it in on your wallet. It's getting bent up, it's getting cloudy looking after a while, right? But this thing is getting used and there's energy from you to this paper, right? And the whole exercise of doing this is really, really simple what it comes down to. It's to affect your subconscious, right? Because once your subconscious changes, then the whole conscious environment changes as well. And that's the reason why a lot of people that fail to lose weight, or they don't get their goals when it comes to fitness or health, is because they never took the time to really affect their subconscious, and they still see themselves as an overweight person all the time. They make terrible eating decisions, even though they tried to clean out the fridge a couple times and toss out sodas. Things slowly start creeping back in, right? But the whole measurement, the whole thing about taking the piece of paper and looking at it multiple times a day is to start changing the way you see yourself in your mind.
That's
And the
it.
funny thing is you cannot actively, outside of just doing reciting, whatever, outside of just
Affirmation.
doing that, affirmations, reciting, recitals, that's what they call it.
Recitations. It sounds like you're about to like pump someone's stomach.
Resuscitations, that's what that is. But yeah, that's all you're doing is you're affecting your subconscious. You're changing the way that you see yourself, right? Because once your mind, if you're an overweight person, but your mind thinks that you are an Baywatch superstar, like running out of a lifeguard stand about to save some lives, you start to become that. You start to become that body. You start to become
That's
the tan person that you wanted to be, because you've told yourself every day through reciting stuff that that's who you are, and then it
you ever
changes.
You ever see those guys at like the club or the bars and like they're kind of out of shape. They're not really that like good looking, but they I hate to use the word pull, but they end up like getting really good looking girlfriends, or it's usually a guy thing, but they get really good looking girlfriends. And you ever see a guy and you're just like, how did he get that girl? Right. And it's because some of these guys are so cocky and confident in themselves that they just get what they want, because having that energy, and you get what you believe in, your outside world will mold itself to if you believe you're fat, if you believe you're broke, if you truly believe that you're not worthy, like your life is going to match that. So the point I'm trying to make is like the outside world matches your inner energy, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
And I
so
think
King
that's
of
what you're
Thrift is
saying.
saying auto-suggestion. There's another term called visualization, which was popularized by the Secret film. But all these things tie into the same exact thing: auto-suggestion, visualization. These are completely different than meditation, and well, it's not really that different from meditation, but it's different from like breathing exercises and things like that. These are actual things that you have to commit, get into a quiet place. I a lot of times do mine in the car, right, where it's quiet and I can say what I want to say. But that's only to affect my subconscious. And then after that, when it comes through your daily routine and you're going, what do I do the next moment or this moment? You start to remember the things that you recited, right? And you start to go, oh yeah, like I need to watch a couple more YouTube videos on cryptocurrency, right? Because I want to get into that.
Oh,
For example,
cryptocurrency. Don't get me started.
for example, right? If that's something that you want to learn about, you can make a goal right now. Like by the end of the month, I would have seen 4 cryptocurrency videos on YouTube, and I will have my first $1,000 in Coinbase. For example, like you could have that as your goal. Read that every single day, and I guarantee you by the end of the month, that'll probably happen. You will have 120 videos watched, and you'll have $1,000 in Coinbase. Nothing invested, just you'll have that much done, right? So that's just one of those things that you can do.
Let's see if there's any final comments that are coming in. I want to read before we get off. I would stay longer, but I have another interview coming, so we're gonna have to cut this a little short. We got Thriller Gorilla saying, "Steve, you should read the book Pumping Iron." That's by Arnold Schwarzenegger. I've read. That's a right pumping. No, isn't that a movie? Pumping Iron.
Pumping Iron is a movie with Arnold
Yeah,
Schwarzenegger as the main character, but I don't know
yeah.
about the book Pumping Iron. But anyway,
Either way, I've seen that. It's freaking awesome. That's an awesome movie. Let's see. Taking control of my calendar was my biggest win this year. Red
yeah,
Rocket. That's awesome. Brandon Pierce, visualize and attack, as touched on in the famous self-help movie, The Waterboy.
I think one of the most important things that I want to do this year is to, and I'll probably start this with the green room, but start to be a little bit more vocal on how my goals are progressing throughout the year in the green room. And the reason why I say that is because the green room to us is our like special family. Like we really take a little bit more time out of our days to curate that room and get it where it needs to be. But I think those people really have lofty goals, great goals, and they always want to change. I've noticed that about our green room members. They always want more, but they're not greedy. And I like that. So, if it comes down to an audience that I know would enjoy what I'm about to say, when it comes to goal setting, even though they're my goals and my my achievements, I want them to know first. But if that's something that you would want to know on Raiken's channel or my channel, then let us know that too. We'll make kind of like Stefan Palernos does. He blasts his entire channel with his goal reports. You notice that, right?
He does. Yeah, I mentioned it earlier. It's amazing how he sticks with it, and I think it keeps him accountable too.
Yeah, Bobby Moons has a great comment. We could probably end with this one, but it says, "Goals are meant to be killed by hustlers."
Wow, it is
That's
true.
vicious, man. That's vicious. That's a bloody like scene right there. He just left the murder scene at the tail end of your video.
I love it. I love it. So we
It's true though. If you're a hustler, if you're hungry, right? If you're a hustler and
yeah,
you're hungry,
yep.
I mean,
That's how you
no
accomplish
goal
it.
that
Take
is
action.
achievable is unachievable, right? As long as it's a normal goal. If you're a hustler, not only a hustler usually is a person that finds how to get it done, and it might not be the stereotypical way. That's a hustler, right? It's like I need to make $300 by the weekend to make rent happen or something. So you go with CDs down to New York City and you start selling bootleg CDs. I'm just saying, like that's kind of the mentality behind a hustler. It's like anything goes as long as it's not like weird, right?
Hey, Red Rocket Resell says joining the green room right now. We're gonna have Red Rocket in the green room. I'm pretty excited about that. Awesome. So yeah, guys,
Sweet.
if you guys did like this video, be sure to like the video, do us a big favor, and smash it down below. If you're wondering what the green room is, it is a private website that we run. We have about 900 members in there right now. We talk a lot about e-commerce, eBay, Amazon, self-help, all different types of things. Links are down below. If you guys aren't following this guy next to me, the Bonafide Hustler, go over the Bonafide Hustler on YouTube. Check him out. Give him a subscribe. Check out his other fitness channel as well. Bod damn. But yeah, until next time, guys, we appreciate you guys watching. Smash that like button. Check out the Bonafide. Any final words, man?
No, we're good to go. And we'll probably have a little bit more. You had a more detailed 2018, I know, on your channel earlier. I aim to have a little bit more detailed 2018 on mine soon. So just look out for that.
Don't copy my content, bro.
I'm actually going to copy every part of it and then add some at the very end.
All right, guys, really enjoyed this. Have a great 2018. I'm sure we'll be seeing you guys soon, but if not, happy holidays. Have a great day. Keep killing it. Chris, thanks for coming on, my man, and appreciate you guys watching. Take care.